If you're chosen by Nemea, the lion goddess, to rule Magia, then the people of Magia will respect and love you no matter what. However, following the events of Sibyl's ascension, the gods and goddesses have ventured to the outer continents and have essentially abandoned the Rumans living on Skyla. This means that the future rulers of Magia are no longer chosen or blessed by Nemea, nor are they chosen by the other gods or goddesses. Sero, the crocodile god, still acts as a consort to the Emperor, but he has fallen out of favor with the Rumans as well, and his opinions are often disregarded. All of these factors have made it difficult for the Emperor of Magia to rule, resulting in rulers being overthrown or assassinated by their own people. This was the case for many years until the era of Claudius, the most beloved ruler of Magia. Claudius was nothing special, at least while he was younger. He was just your average Roman born in Magia. His family was not of high status or well respected. In fact, it was quite the opposite. Claudius and his family struggled to make ends meet, and the northern half of Skyla, known as Mecca, separating from Magia, didn't help matters. There were less opportunities to advance and expand, and this made it difficult for Claudius to find his footing. Claudius focused on himself and his physical presence and appearance. The most fortunate thing to happen to Claudius was his natural growth. Claudius was a tall Roman who was physically fit and handsome. He had a presence that was undeniable and the charisma to go with it. When Claudius walked into the room, everyone took notice. As he grew older, this factor played a pivotal role in his rise to power. The more emperors fell out of favor with the people, the more they yearned for someone of Claudius's stature and personality. This led to Claudius being put on Seros's radar. Sero could find a way to make Claudius the emperor of Magia. The Rumans may once again favor the crocodile god. The idea was now put in motion, and Sero found himself contributing to the betrayal of the rulers he had put in place. The more these rulers fell from grace, the more Rumans turned to someone like Claudius. The more Claudius rose in popularity, the easier it became for Sero to get him to be emperor. All of the pieces fell into place, and the results were everything Sero could hope for and more. Claudius wasn't just a good-looking Roman. All Romans born on the southern half in Magia are born with magical abilities and special powers. Claudius was the most blessed of all. His large physique came with unnatural strength, and that chiseled body was also indestructible. Compared to Sibyl, the godlike being ruling the north, Claudius was the closest the Romans in Magia could get to replicating her power. All of the stars were aligning, and it was becoming more and more obvious that Claudius not only should be leading the Romans in Magia, he needed to. The people needed it. The world needed it. Sero was pleased with the results from the beginning, as Claudius fixed a lot of the issues plaguing Magia. Since Claudius was extremely respected and revered by the people of Magia, it was easy for him to convince Romans with special abilities to help them further improve Magia and the places around it. Lands were cultivated, new systems were put into place, and the empire began to grow and expand. Skyla would benefit from these changes as a whole. Even if Claudius could not influence the northern lands of Mecca at all, the impact was still being felt throughout the land. Outside of the empire, Magia was primarily made up of forests, and rulers before Claudius often spoke of tearing these forests down to make more buildings. After all, Mecca was all buildings and cities, and the best chance of countering Sibyl's advancements would be to replicate them. Claudius disagreed and was of a different mind. The forests and the magical properties they housed were what made Magia special, and he was going to further develop them and lean into what made Magia unique in the first place. He began putting together the blueprints for societies built directly into the forests and made it easier for creatures and Romans alike to live there. Sero approved of these ideas and even contributed to helping these new forest cities grow. He created new animals that the Romans living there could ride and utilize to help them build and create new structures previously only dreamed about. Thanks to the crocodile god and Claudius, Magia prospered more than ever, and for the first time in a long time, people of Magia felt like they stood on equal footing with those living in Mecca. These outer lands being fortified and built anew, while retaining their roots, was Claudius's greatest triumph. That being said, ruling the South did not come without its struggles or its failures, none of which were bigger than those known as the Glivolu, a group of Magia's people whose magical influence was not what most would deem normal. Every Rumen born in the south was gifted with innate magical abilities, most of which gave them powers that ranged from the ability to fly, teleportation, psychic abilities, super strength, and super speed. However, for some, this mutation of the cellular structure of the body manifested in a way that changed the physical appearance of their bodies to the point that they were hardly able to be considered humans. Claudius and Cero taught their people not to shun these individuals based on appearance, and taught the Glivolu to embrace their differences. Since Claudius was so well respected, this helped bridge the gap between his people. However, despite people treating them the same as everyone else, the Glivolu constantly did things to separate themselves from the rest of the Rumans living in Magia. This led to the Glivolu choosing their own leader and beginning to turn their backs on Claudius. This leader that they chose was a Glivolu named Neron, whom the Glivolu called the Great Wolf. In many ways, he was the Glivolu equivalent of Claudius. Both were large in stature with a commanding presence, super strength, and near indestructible. Neron was larger, as his nickname the Great Wolf was more on the nose than one might think. His skin was covered in blue fur, and he took on the appearance of a wolf-human hybrid. Who was physically more powerful was up for debate, though the two had never engaged in a fight. It was a constant topic among Magians and Glivolu alike. Cero recommended that Claudius banish all of the Glivolu as a result of their sudden allegiance to Neron, but Claudius banished just Neron and those who followed him instead. Glivolu who continued to follow Claudius and acknowledge him as their emperor were allowed to stay in the capital of Magia. This kindness was looked down upon by Cero, as he felt it would be too easy for Neron to have spies close to Claudius, advice that Claudius would choose to ignore. For a time after their banishment, the Glivolu would practically disappear from the southern part of Ruma, leaving many Rumans in Magia wondering where they went and what they were conspiring to do. It was up to Claudius, with the help of Cero, to calm their fears and keep them focused. If Magia was going to continue to grow and prepare for the inevitable arrival of Sybil in their land, they would need to stay vigilant. However, the Emperor would soon learn that the Glivolu were not to be ignored. This misstep in Claudius's rule would soon lead to the First Magia Civil War.